If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members.
We are back. I'm Chris Evan, the CEO of Survival Dispatch, joined tonight by my good friend, Agent 00711, Khalid Muhammad from Command 11 in Pakistan. Below him, my good friend, Randy Nance, Combat Wounded Green Beret back home in Texas. And below me, our good friend, Jeff MD, 23 or 26? I'm having a sometimers moment.
26.
26 years CIA case officer, author extraordinaire. He's just straight up 007. There's no 711 after his name, by the way. So I got to give a quick shout out to our friends at Stay Brewed Coffee. They decided they were going to make coffee for y'all. And somebody had said, you've got to have a mix that's BFE, right? So I was up at Dark 30 this morning. I had a cup of this. I vibrated until about 5 p.m. this afternoon. Heart rate didn't go below 150. So if you're looking for stress inoculation, here it is right here. SDN BFE coffee available next week. I'll give you all the URL to it next week. It's pretty crazy. It's super high octane. You'll be very proud of it, Khalid, when you finally get a chance to try it. And before I forget, we had a brief discussion offline. So Craig is married, has 6 daughters, house full of women. They're all young, so they're all at home still. Every single time one of his daughters sends me something that is drawn by hand like this, Faith, Family, Freedom, if you can't read it. Talk about an amazing father, amazing mother, amazing family. These are real Americans, Randy. This is real Americans, TM Randy Nance.
Oh, I've got a story about that, me trying to trademark it if when we get time later. Maybe not on the show, but I meant to mention it beforehand, but we were too busy.
Yes, we were. Yeah, I haven't seen y'all in, 10, 11, 12 days or something like that. Yeah. But I was kind of rusty last night. When we were shooting the conversation with CCW Safe, I tried to take some of my gear, and for whatever reason, the camera sharing didn't want to work when we went to leave. So I thought, screw it, I won't take it with me. So when we got there, we're all sitting around this table. I had to, in StreamYard, you can take off the automatic volume and crank it all the way to the max. Well, I forgot that I did that. I got off the podcast last night. Dean from Carnival, it's like, you blew everybody out last night. Your volume was I'm like, yeah, that'd be on me. It was 100% my fault, but hopefully tonight goes a little smoother than last night did.
Well, thanks for telling me now.
Yeah. Well, no, he was trying to reach me during the podcast, but I didn't catch it. I told him, I said, well, my phone was on my left side. It was on my blind side. I couldn't see it. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. So let's get everybody up on the other stages here. And let's jump into the first piece of insanity for our sit rep. The main topic, by the way, tonight is the simplest way to describe it is the faith division. And of course, it's post 9/11 2.0, and we get to the main topic. So absolutely chilling. This is the Democrat Party, folks. Here's George Soros-backed Philadelphia DA Larry Krasner. He publicly declared the Democrats will hunt down ICE agents when Donald Trump leaves office. If we have to hunt you down the way they hunted down Nazis for decades, we will find your identities. Make sure everyone in America sees this. These people are out of control. 25 seconds. We shared some lunacy from this guy in the past, and I didn't think he could do it, but he took it up to the next level.
Bunch of wannabe Nazis. That's what they are. In a country of 350 million, we outnumber them. If we have to hunt you down the way they hunted down Nazis for decades, we will find your identities. We will find you. We will achieve justice. And
this guy's unhinged, but they're telling us exactly what they're going to do. So I'm just going to go straight down the side panel here, Khalid. Your thoughts? Would you ever have expected an American politician to speak like this with regards to a duly elected president and law enforcement upholding the law?
Well, I think the first problem is the fact that they keep invoking the Nazi phrase and they start talking that way. Number one, you don't even understand what the Nazis did, because if you think what ICE is doing is the Nazi level, you have no clue what the Nazis did. You need to go back and read history. Number two, the fact that if you think you're going to go hunt people down, remember, ICE agents are armed and they're enforcing the law. They are law enforcement. They are a law enforcement agency. And they're not doing anything that's against the law. And what you're recommending is hunting them down and prosecuting them. That's against the law, because you are basically saying federal law doesn't exist in your state. No, federal law exists throughout the United States. And if you're not careful, you may get charged with it and sent to prison for it.
Yeah, unbelievable. Randy, your thoughts on this rogue DA?
Well, I think you know what I'm going to say. I'll answer one question real quick from William Kosh 7769. No, I'm not related to Jim Nance, the sportscaster, although our names are exactly spelled the same with the uncommon spelling. There's a chance that we're related, but I don't think so, and I don't know who he is. So that's that, and I don't think he's a very nice person anyway. So we'll move on from there. This guy right here, this is part of our problem, right? Because here, this guy's a politician. One, he knows for a fact, he knows with absolute certainty that he's lying right now. He knows what the law is and what the rules are, and he knows better. But the fact that the media and law enforcement, because I don't know what they could actually do about it, but again, this guy, what you call there, he's inciting violence. Now, he's saying it's going to be in a future date, but regardless, he's inciting violence. And by calling people Nazis, and again, we go back to when Charlie Kirk was killed, right? The first thing the left want to say, hey, well, violent rhetoric is coming from both sides. We know that it is not. And the problem we're having in Minnesota right now, in Minneapolis, is this very thing. All the leadership in Minnesota and Minneapolis are all saying the same thing. Now, maybe Donald Trump changed that in the last 24 hours with Walz and the mayor of Minneapolis. That remains to be seen. I remain dubious on the fact. I don't think they're going to back down one bit, because it all comes down to two things. One, this rhetoric right here is what's led us to this point. And the left is constantly doing, or the people that hate this country, because they're not the left anymore, and they're rhinos that are right there with them. So it's the side that hates this country and wants to burn it down and change what our constitutional republic is, and do away with that part, because the Constitution and the truth are getting in their way. And so they need to do away with both of those. But the fact is that he can get up on national TV or any platform and say this kind of thing without any accountability. What they're doing is what we all know they're doing. All he's doing is stoking up the base and keep that fear mongering going, keeping them all uproar about this and believing that they're right in the way they feel, and they're justified because all of us are Nazis.
I'm going to forewarn you right now, Randy, that I love it. Passion's awesome. If you do that at our age, after drinking 1 cup of Khalid's BFE coffee, your heart will shut down.
I'm calling 911. They're like, send an ambulance. I'm having a heart attack.
Just saying, that's the way it goes.
Now, before you move to Jeff, I just want to introduce everybody. With Jeff, we're going to have him show the shirt he has on. You guys are going to love this. So go right ahead.
I don't know if I can get it all on screen here. We'll see. Oh, no.
If at first you don't succeed, try doing what Jeff told you to do in the first place.
I've got to get the right angle here, but it doesn't want to show up. There we go.
Basically, that if at first you don't succeed, try to do what you do in the first place. But Jeff, when these politicians, I mean, I don't consider this guy anything but a politician, even though he's a DA. Is there no limit to what they can say and not cross the line legally?
Well, someone would have to charge him with incitement. But most of that is local, and he's the DA. He's not going to charge himself. It was kind of like when I think it was Obama's attorney general was found contempt of Congress, and he just walked because the only one who was going to enforce it was the Justice Department. He was the head of the Justice Department. So it was, it was Eric Holder. So, he's not going to arrest himself. So there's a certain amount of hubris that comes with that kind of immunity. But an idiot like this just needs to read the supremacy clause in the Constitution. Yeah. But the dangerous thing is he's thinking we're going to do this when Democrats take power. And Democrats probably will, because they will ignore the Constitution, which they have done repeatedly for the last 30 years. Whenever it is to their advantage to ignore the Constitution or to ignore court rulings, they do. Remember, Joe Biden is the one that said the Supreme Court said I can't do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like when it came to student loan forgiveness.
That's right.
Yeah, the eviction moratorium during COVID. They let CDC issue an eviction moratorium. CDC has zero authority to do that under any circumstances. But they did it knowing it was going to fail, but they'd get 2 years before it got to the courts.
Yeah, 100%. So I just want to quickly mention Custos Villicus says, have you guys seen the new footage of Pretty being very violent from over a week ago, released 20 minutes ago? It was released midday or so, and I'll have a quick look for it. It didn't happen in time to make it into our brief, but he was spitting on ICE agents and got into tussles. Yeah, I mean, he was not a good guy. And you know what? I was hoping I'd make it through tonight without making any mistakes after last night being pretty rusty. But here's the conflicted question of the night. Just describe the average person in the military today. If given the choice, do you think the majority would stand up for what is morally right? Or would they do what they were told, and why? So we will answer this question at the end of the broadcast. We'd like to see your answers in the live chat or the comment section down below. All right, moving into the next one. This is not Somalia or Nigeria. It's not Congo either. This is London, UK, a city where the domestic population is a minority. 24 seconds.
What the hell is that?
So that's pretty much all that nonsense we need to see.
Is that a protest or a concert? They're waiting for the band to come in, or?
Well, I could tell you what it is, but they'd probably kick us off of YouTube. Khalid, I mean, big WTF on this one. London has fallen. London is done.
Well,
London's gone.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Randy.
I was just going to say, we're only lucky that Biden had only 4 years, because this could have been us in another 4.
Boy, howdy. You said a mouthful there.
Now, London's more than fallen. The UK, the Labour Party today has announced that they have enacted smart cities as well. The Oxford, UK is the first test city for smart cities. They are changing the laws as well so that you cannot leave a certain area, which is great if you're Somali. We can lock you up in a certain area and you can't leave that place at all. But London has gone. I mean, the invasion of London has been very successful because you have a Muslim Brotherhood government. You have a government that has allowed so many asylum seekers in. I can't remember if it was Austria or I think it was Austria that has announced they're going to legalize 500,000 illegals just so that they can, get them onto the proper government roles. Europe is gone. I mean, it's not just London. I mean, Europe as a whole has been destroyed. And they're going to figure out over the next 2 to 3 years how badly the entire continent of Europe has fallen. This is going to become normal everywhere. I mean, this is sad to say, but this is going to become normal everywhere now.
Yeah, and I think this is why it's so important that we control the Western Hemisphere in its entirety. Randy, do you want to add to your first comments?
Well, I'm just going to say Khalid's right, and guess what, Europe? I mean, you've opposed us on everything lately, so let's just think about this. In 2 or 3 years, who are you going to be asking to come save your ass yet one more time?
Yeah, not far from the truth. Jeff, you're on mute for starters, but
Well, I knew that.
Do you even recognize? Yeah. Do you even recognize London when you see that?
No, not at all. I mean, I've been to London several times, and the first few times it was a great place to be. It was great culture. Very British. It had that. It was just like you're in a movie almost, and then you see that, and it's like, oh, holy Christ! This is like Rome after the barbarians took it over and destroyed it. You have a shell of what used to be. It's like you could go into Rome and you could see, you could see the Colosseum back in the Middle Ages, but it was full of garbage because actually literally used as a garbage dump. You could see the Parthenon, you could see all these buildings, but they were just shells. And all it did is remind you, wow, we used to be great.
Yeah, good choice of words, by the way. So here's the video of Alex Pretty kicking a nice vehicle, getting into a tussle with them, spitting on them, etc. It's 3 minutes long. I'm not going to play the whole video. It's not necessary, but I will play enough that you can see him. He's not the patron saint that they've been trying to make him out to be.
This is a moment the news movement filmed on January 13th in Minneapolis, showing a man who...
That's him right there, by the way. And if you didn't catch that, he's spitting at them there.
In Minneapolis,
right
showing
here.
A man who appears to be Alex Pretty interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy. On the morning of January 13th, our team received a tip that federal agents were blocking a street at the corner of East 36 and Park Avenue in Minneapolis. We arrived around 10:15 a.m. We saw observers shouting at the agents as they walked back to their vehicles. When they started driving away, the man kicked their taillight. An agent then got out of the vehicle, grabbed him, and pushed him to the ground. During the altercation, agents fired tear gas and pepper balls into the crowd. They continued to hold the man down before they retreat, and he walks away.
So I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. And I don't know if y'all caught it or not, but the guy that he was specifically protesting on behalf of the day got shot. They released the details on that guy. He was a pedophile, a convicted pedophile, no less. Khalid, this seems to me this ties in directly to that asshole DA, Tim Walz, Jacob Frey, all of them. This is the net result. And they can say that they haven't been, advocating violence, but they have. And this is the result.
Well, there was a story that came out today saying that the hospital that this guy worked for had fired him 3 months ago. So he wasn't even a nurse anymore. In this altercation last week that he had, he had a rib broken as well, and you still didn't learn your damn lesson. And you went back and you decided you're going to screw with ICE officers again, and ended up losing your life because of it. The sheer level of stupidity. The useful idiot has become so useful to WEF and to these groups that want to create unrest inside the United States. And what you end up getting is idiots like this that become, well, the sacrificial lamb. And people go, well, you look, we support you, and this shouldn't have happened. But when you start digging into their history, you find out they were animals to begin with. And the same thing's true with Pretty. The same thing was true with Renee Good. You cannot, if you have a tendency to violence, you're going to meet violence, and you can't complain after that. And this is what we're seeing with all of this.
Well, you can complain, doesn't mean anybody's going to listen. At the end of the day.
Yeah. Also,
Randy, I mean, this is the direct result. This is the result of inciting violence. And I don't know what else to say about it.
Well, I agree with you. And it just shows, for one, the guy was a page agitator. And Khalid is right. This guy worked for the VA. 3 months ago, they fired his ass for I guess he was giving off some kind of weird behavior, where he was He harassed some women. There were several things. The guy's a lowlife. He's a scumbag, and that's why they fired him, because trust me, it's hard to get fired from the VA. You have to work at that because you're a GS employee, most of them. And if not, they're a contractor, but these, which can get fired a little bit easier, but still, nobody ever gets fired from those jobs. That speaks a lot about his character, and then his parents told him he shouldn't go. His parents told him not to get involved and don't do anything stupid. And what do you do? Now we look at this one 2 weeks before. Now, I tried to look closely, but it looks like he didn't have a weapon on him during that altercation. There wasn't one on his belt that I could see. But of course, there's a possibility that we didn't see it. But the fact is, he probably, if he had a gun on him, he probably would have got arrested. But in fact, he should have been arrested that first time. But of course, the locals would have just let him go right after that. So, this guy wasn't a good guy. He's a paid agitator. He was in the signal chat. Then once he got his rib broken, he got tossed around when he should have been arrested. Then this dumbass decides to bring a gun the next time with 2 extra magazines. And somebody just posted on here a little bit ago, I don't know the name. I'm not even go back and look because you're an idiot. Says, well, he was still unarmed. That's called murder. No, it's not. When you're a dumbass and you go to a protest as a paid agitator, and then like everybody else, and of course, I guarantee you the person that said that in this chat, just like me, did you go to the protest? No, because you're a law-abiding citizen. You stayed home and out of it, which is what he should have done. But then he took it a step further and he went in and interjected himself and he tried to disrupt federal agents conducting their lawful duties. Then when they had to do something about him and detain him, he started fighting them. So all that is already wrong. And if you go, tell me, I want to name one reasonable person that's going to have a sidearm on them that's going to go then try to get in the middle of what police are doing, certainly on somebody they don't even know personally. They're not going to do that. And if you do, you can expect to get shot because as soon as they realize you have a gun, you are a threat. You are dangerous. And they're going to eliminate that.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there's a dozen different angles of that incident. And 2 of them, when you watch them in slow motion, you can see him draw his pistol out of the holster.
So I don't know if he did, but I do know
he did.
If the officer did, but he still reached for it. Now, some people are saying, because I'm just saying what some of the videos show, Chris. And some of them are trying to say that another officer had already disarmed him. But again, that's in split-second moments, fractions of seconds. And if, let's just say hypothetically, the officer did, the very next second, because guess what? Pretty didn't know he wasn't unarmed anymore. He didn't know that, and neither did the officer behind him. So when he reaches for his sidearm, his 90210 side piece, he got smoked. And that's what any reasonable officer would do. The fact that y'all are trying to paint this guy as a good guy is disgusting.
Well, it is, but like I said, there's a dozen different angles, and there are 2 in particular that show that he drawed the weapon. It was out of the holster. It was a foot in front of the holster, and then it went off, and that's when he got shot immediately after that. And I'll hunt them up and play them tomorrow night for everybody.
Hey, we can all admit, people, it's tragic, and it sucks. But Alex Pretty put himself in that position, and it is not the federal agent's fault. It's that guy's fault. Bad as it is.
By the way, how do you think ICE is doing in Minnesota? Pretty good.
Well,
yeah. And I'm going to get a hate mail for that, and I don't really give a crap. Whatever. Jeff, your thoughts on that whole altercation?
Well, Pretty was obviously violent before. There's video evidence of him being violent before. And he was violent on this incident too, the last one when he got shot. Now, did the ICE officers who dealt with him the second time know about the first time? Probably not, probably different guys. But what it does is it speaks to his state of mind, his attitude, his rage. And he's there to stir up trouble. That's what they're for. They say in their signal chat, if you look at them, there are people who are, their job is to impede, to interfere, to block traffic, to block intersections. And the whole point of that is to create an incident. And he was the incident. This is the Reichstag fire for the left. They gin up a situation where they can blame ICE for their stupidity. And he walked right into it. He is what Lennon said he's a useful idiot. And they're doing with him even more so than they did with the good woman. It's almost like it's almost like the Rosenbergs. They make them a cause celeb, and what people, oh, they executed these poor people. They were just, it was their conscience, and yeah, I don't care if it was their conscience. What's overlooked in the Rosenbergs was they were spying for the freaking communists. And what they're overlooking with this guy is he went out there to stir up trouble, and he did. And it blew up in his face, just like the Rosenbergs didn't think they were going to get it caught, tried, convicted, and executed. This guy didn't think that when you start a fight with a bunch of heavily armed ICE agents, bad things are probably going to happen to you.
Yeah, that's a pretty safe conclusion. So this guy is like the next pretty in training, ready to go. He's posted a whole bunch of videos. He took some of them down. He's trying to insinuate things by keeping guns out of view of the camera. This is 3 minutes long. I'm probably going to play most of this. I'll pause it if you guys want to comment on it. Then there's a short one that follows up from this. So Cassandra McDonald says he deleted all of his videos and is urging everyone to go buy guns because it's time. Says he's going to do something after showing off his gun collection. Off screen, of course. He also added dramatic music. This guy's another direct result of
I guess he didn't realize, Chris, since he's on the right side of things or the hateful side, he could post anything he wants. He didn't have to hide it. What a puss.
True story.
What we do is we get off the apps. Unless you're a journalist, you don't need to be on this app. You really don't. This app right here is what's making us feel powerless. And now that a fucking MAGA dickhead rubber face owns this app, all of our videos are going to go absolutely nowhere. I know this one's going to go nowhere. So you know what I did yesterday when I was feeling powerless, feeling alone? Thought to myself, I have things that make me feel a little bit safer. I should probably make sure that all of them are in proper working order, making sure all the actions cycle smoothly. I'm sure a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about, but for those people that keep asking me, what do I do? We all know what to do. If you don't have these things, go out and get them. Some of them take a little while to get. They have a 7-day waiting period, and they sound like this. Some of the smaller ones sound like this. Some of those things sound like this. But the easiest one to get is going to cost you the least amount of money, that do a whole lot of different things. They're a very versatile tool. They sound like this. You want to feel like you have at least a little bit of a chance, because the tactics are changing soon. They're not retreating out of Minneapolis. They're regrouping. The tactics are about to change. And it's only a matter of time before the MAGA piece of shit that lives next to you decides that it's time for you commie assholes to fucking die. That's how they see us. Commie pieces of shit that don't deserve to live. All because, we want to take care of our people as opposed to the laws of the jungle. Get off the apps. I'm going to be moving all of my videos to private, except for this one.
I'm going to go ahead and stop that there and just move on to the next one because it's only 33 seconds, and I'll give you all a chance to comment on it.
People have been asking, when's the time? After today. The song has been sung.
So I got to back this up just a little bit here. Quick audience poll: 1,000 milligram stare, 5,000 milligram stare, or some other milligram of stare. Let's see what the audience thinks in the live chat.
It's time.
Yeah, alrighty. Khalid, what do you think the chances are of this guy getting in an altercation? Is he, all show no go, or do you think he's going to end up being the next Pretty?
No, I don't think he's going to get in an altercation. I think he's a good soy boy. He's got a nice little drama background. He knows how to use the music and set the tone. But I don't think he's ever used a gun in his entire life. Cocking a gun is very easy. Firing it is much harder. I think he's never been to a range, because the way he was talking, that we should check the action and do that. Go and check the action on your brain first, because that's the thing that's not working. When you get that to work properly, you'll understand that you are a soy boy, you are a theater major, and you have figured out how to put on a really good show. But when you step onto the battlefield and you have a gun in your hand, they're going to put you down like a dog. And these communists, I'm going to use his word, you fucking communists that think that the MAGA guy is going to shoot you. No. It doesn't take a MAGA guy to shoot you. You probably put a gun, you put 3 bullets in yourself before a MAGA guy shoots you, because you don't know how to use that weapon in your hands. These are the most fantastic, useful idiots I have ever seen in America. I mean, I have seen ranges of useful idiots in Pakistan, but this guy, he takes the cake. I mean, he is an absolute useful idiot. There's going to end up being put down in some ways. He's going to get carried by 6. That's all there is that's going to happen with these guys.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you at all. By the way, there's a little bit better view of his stare there. I've been paying attention. Is it what's the consensus here? Is it 1,000? No, we're going with 10,000. By the way, 10,000 is where we're at right now. That's the highest bid. Highest bid's at 10,000 milligrams. Jeff?
I would say too, because 10,000 is a lethal dose, and he's a wuss, so there's no way his body could tolerate that. He would die.
Leave it to the engineer, Jeff, to come up with that, right? If Jeff says it's 2,000, it's 2,000. His T-shirt says so.
Yes.
Randy, your thoughts on this clown?
Well, I thought he was boring, actually, and he's so low key. Who's he ever going to motivate? No one. And then he's going to put his shit on a private channel. Okay, well then who's going to watch it? I mean, who's going to watch it? No one. So and then as Khalid said, this guy mentions, oh well, you never know when your freaking MAGA neighbor is going to want to come over and shoot you because you're a communist. Well, buddy, if the shoe fits, wear it. But as we have all seen, MAGA hasn't done anything like that. None of the conservative crowd has done anything like that. It's only douchebags like you that think you've got to go out and do something about it. And he will turn out to be like Pretty. He's going to end up dead. But as Khalid said, I don't remember which movie it was, but there's been a couple of them where somebody's tripped and fell and shot themselves in the head as they were falling over. That's what's going to happen to this guy. He's not going to get out in any real fight because, again, he's too low key. I mean, what's this guy going to do? Nothing. And, I don't know what medication he's on, but he obviously needs to seek help. He needs some kind of mental counseling like right away. But I don't even know if that's going to help because he's so far gone. And, apparently, but again, I come back to really, we're down to only 20% of the population now are with those idiots. Thank God. But just like the politician said later, there's more of us than them. No, there isn't, pal. And we just proved it in the last 2 elections. Well, 3 elections.
So CommieTube is in full censorship mode tonight. So
guaranteed.
The bearded patriot 556 says his tampon fell out. That got censored by CommieTube. I'm approving that one. Cindy Lou says Narcan for soy boy. It got censored. I'm approving that. All Smiles says his eyes are black and got censored by YouTube for that. I haven't had a chance to stay on top of this. I apologize to all y'all that YouTube is
They're dilated from the drugs.
Buff the Cat. Yeah, 100%, Jeff. Buff the Cat says the 12-inch stare. They got censored for that. It's just John Fernandez got censored for saying sounds like maybe he is humping his dog. John Fernandez also says, what a whack job. He got censored for that. I'm approving all these as I go through. I can't go through all of them. We'll be here all night because we're crazy. But Husker says he's a pussy, probably living in mama's basement. He got censored. Okay, we'll approve that. And the list goes on and on. Typical commie too. But Jeff, give us your thoughts on this special.
Okay. The left is very vocal. All they do is, how many videos have you seen of liberal white women in their cars screaming into their cell phones? Okay. You don't see that from conservatives. You just don't, because we're not insane. And this guy is just kind of a male version of that, but much more low key. But he's one of these posers. If someone was a real threat, they wouldn't be putting out videos like this. Okay, he's not someone I'm worried about. He is probably going to get himself shot if he's not smart. But more than likely, what I see is he's going to be at some protest before ICE shows up, and he's going to have a gun, and he's going to be showing it to the girl or the guy, whichever his preference is. I really don't know or care. Trying to show off and see what a big guy I am because I'm carrying a gun. It's going to go off and he's going to shoot somebody. Sadly, it probably won't be himself. It'll be some innocent bystander. It'll go through a window and hit some kid because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And when you sit there and brag, oh, I've got this gun and I've got this gun, that's how you. We all have guns. So what? But we don't go around showing them to people. We don't go around brandishing them. I'm in Arizona. Hell, everybody's got a damn gun here. But you rarely see it. The only ones you ever really see when they have a gun on their hip are ranchers, because they've come from out with the cows, and they always go armed. I mean, hell, I always do when I'm out there. So, but this guy is a poser, and posers get people killed, either themselves or somebody next to them.
Yeah, well said, Jeff. I got to share a couple more here before we go into the next one. So, Saved by Grace got censored for calling him a pussy on CommieTube. CR Buena Floral, comment of the night so far, says he just likes lubing his slide. Censored by CommieTube, approved by Cress. All right, moving on to the next one. I think I got 2 or 3 lined up here for the 1,000 milligram stare of the night. I'm going to let you all, vote on that here in a minute. So 48 seconds. We have a serious mental health crisis in this country. We have had this thing with the snot ring in her nose on before.
No. That's her. Isn't that her intelligence or lack of identity bracelet?
Jeff has a sophisticated.
No, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Mental illness identity bracelet.
There we go.
There we go.
Well, I'm still calling it a snot ring on top of that. So it's just an extra part to the description. So we have a serious mental health crisis in this country. I'm forewarning you right now. A lot of cussing in this one.
You sorry cock-sucking sons of a bitches that think that you're just gonna go and fucking arrest a bunch of protesters because they're out there doing something you're too afraid to fucking do. They're out there fighting for our freedom, and they're out there fighting for our right for free speech, because fuck.
Look at that right there. There's no... Jeff, what's the maximum dosage of SSRIs before it gets lethal? You're on mute.
Sorry, it depends on your body weight and the particular SSRI you're on, SSRI, but she doesn't look too big. So I would think if she did about 3 milligrams, she might drop into a coma if she took it all at once.
Okay, so Jeff's
Yeah.
going.
Doctor, though.
But did
Chris,
they-
these are the people that kill themselves when they finally figure out they were duped. Like she's telling us that they're out fighting for our freedoms. No, you're not. You're opposing them.
Well, Jeff, quick question: do they build up a tolerance to this stuff? So at one point they need to do double the dose to have the effect they did when they went on the SSRIs.
Yeah, like most drugs, you will build up a tolerance to it. She's probably been building it up since she was, 12.
Okay.
Started with the ADHD medications and then went on from there.
Based on that, I'm setting the reserve bid at 5,000 milligrams. Let's see what the audience says. How many milligrams is this stare? It's way beyond 1,000 milligram stare.
You, all 2,000 of you fucking National Guardsmen, you brave ass fucking soldiers, you think you're gonna march in those streets and tell those?
I just got to do it. There's somewhere in here that's going to be like a classic.
Well, she looks yellow around the eyes, which tells me she's been on it so long, she probably now has liver damage.
Yeah, I was going to say hepatotoxic, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, isn't she special? Can you imagine bringing her home? Hey, Mom, here's my new girlfriend.
Yeah, so you go, well, I need a new son, man.
Wow. Or you might even need a new daughter because that might be, the way she swings here.
Soldiers, you think you're gonna march in those streets and tell those people to shut the fuck up?
Oh, I just noticed something. She has 2 snot rings. She has one.
Yeah, she does.
Oh, I don't even think we need to have a poll on this one.
I wonder why she didn't do the other side.
She needs to save up her money.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple other crazy ones. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the SSRI 1,000 milligram stare.
Careful, but look behind her on the right. If you look in her back window, you see the end of STINE, and this is reversed, of course, because she's in the driver's seat, which means it's clear to us, but because we're seeing the reverse image, I'm sure it's Free Palestine in her back window.
That's exactly what it is. Good call. Well done, Jeff.
Yep.
That is what you decided to fight for. You chose to defend us against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and you fucking failed.
God, I can't help myself with this one.
It's like Daughtry said, she's a lizard lot. Truck stop lizard lot.
But I mean, she's chastising the military for not defending the country while she has Free Palestine in her back window.
Yeah.
Having
no idea what those people would do to her.
Oh,
we just
God, no,
her
they
over
would
there.
throw off a roof.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's.
She's probably lesbian. I think those are like gay pride earrings.
Could be, but a quick audience poll. If you think this is beyond the 1,000 milligram stare and it's straight up demonic, put a 1 in the live chat. 1 if you think this is demonic, because I think it is.
Defend us against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and you fucking failed. And that's why they're out there on those streets. So who the fuck are you to tell them to shut the fuck up? Why don't you grow a pair, take off your mask, and tell me your fucking name?
Like, I can't help myself with this one. There's so many great screenshots. I mean, look at this. Golly.
She's definitely hit all the classics.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, she's batshit.
She's a meme factory is what she is.
There you go. Right there. Look at that.
Of all the memes you could come up with just from this rant. But this is what I'm talking about. They just have to rant into their cell phones in the front seat of their car.
I think we got
all the while being the party of inclusion and love and acceptance, right?
Yes.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to play the next 5 seconds and we're going to move off this crazy bitch.
Your mask and tell me your fucking name. Because my name is Alex and I say fuck you.
Well, alrighty then.
Oh, thank you.
She's got enough time on our show tonight.
Oh, shit. What do we got here?
So thank you for doing the lead up to that one there, Randy. This liberal soy boy who borrowed his great aunt's eyeglasses from the 1970s says we are not angry enough. Funny hearing that from a cosplay tough guy with high estrogen levels. 23 seconds.
I keep seeing videos about people telling us that we need to calm down.
Okay, I mean, I know he's not as jacked up as the last crazy bitch is, but that is well over 1,000 milligram stare. I got somebody over here. I mean, the number's so high, I don't even know what the heck it is, but 10,000 milligrams. Somebody else says 50,000 milligrams. Anyway.
Well, and he just put a post
I
in
don't
his
think
lip
we're
instead of
angry
the
enough.
hook.
We had 7 Democratic representatives vote to fund ICE.
No.
We are
Maybe
not
so.
angry enough.
What's on the top of his glasses on the bridge of his nose? What is that?
Is that on the glasses?
I have no idea.
Is
They're reversible.
No.
Are they like little horns? Those little devil horns there? What's he got?
I have no
it's
idea.
on the ear on the other side. What the hell is that?
That is weird. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, what is that? I tell.
There is so much going
There's
on.
so much going on.
All right. So flashback to the 1980s. Has been Molly Ringwald goes on an unhinged rant. Anyone else sick of these retarded celebrities? I am not playing the full 4 minutes of this.
Oh God, no.
I don't spend a lot of time doing this, talking to you like this, unless I'm, I don't know, recommending a foundation or.
We got to do it just because we got to do it right here. Let me find the good one. There it is. Oh,
There it is.
There it is.
there it is. There it is. I'd like quick panel poll here. Khalid, how many milligrams?
That's 10,000 easy. She's
Okay,
gone.
highest
Gone.
bid 10,000. Randy, what are your bid?
I'm with Khalid. You know, I didn't even, if you wouldn't have put that this is Molly Ringwald, I would not have even recognized her.
So are you going? It's like kind of like the Price is Right, Randy. 10,001 milligrams. Is that
Yeah,
what
10,001. I'm sorry.
Okay, gotcha. Over to Professor Jeff. How many milligrams?
I'm going with only 2,000 because I can still see the color in her eyes, meaning her irises. So her eyes are not fully dilated like the others.
Those are
Jeff-
colored contacts, Jeff. That's why you see color in the eyes.
Jeff has to go.
Color contacts, if you're dilated, they still look black. So
Yeah, Jeff had to go all scientific on us.
Recommending a foundation or telling you to get your kids vaccinated against meningitis. But I feel like I can't stay silent, and neither should you. There's something horrible going on in our country right now. And we have one of the greatest countries in the world.
That's because we're trying to make America great again.
no, the horrible thing
And
she's
I don't-
talking about is waste-away actors from the 80s can't find work. That's the horrible thing that's happening in this country right now.
Well said, Jeff.
Always
It's
been
all
so
that
proud
cocaine.
to be an American, but right now, this is a fascist government. It's not becoming a fascist government. It is a fascist government. And ICE is brutalizing people. And I don't care how you identify, if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, if you're independent, if you don't like to be political at all, it doesn't matter. You have to look at what kind of country you want to live in. And I don't think that I need to remind you, just give a little history lesson here.
Okay, I can't listen to this shit anymore. So
This is, again, she's an actress. She is not launching rockets for Elon Musk.
yeah, you said
Not the
no.
brightest bulb.
She's not just an actress; she's a has-been.
Has been actress. Yeah.
Yeah. So
She was in high school. When
Yeah.
you were in high school.
yeah, pretty much.
That's
So
true.
last one for tonight's sit rep, and before we get into the main topic, is this one here. And I got to ask y'all first, Khalid, I don't know if you've heard this, Jeff, Randy, but there's been this ongoing scandal of Walmart putting egregious poundages on their meat. So something that is 2 pounds, they put a sticker on it that says it's 4 pounds, and they're overcharging by a country mile. And I think it's this one. There's all kinds of videos out there where the store manager even says, "Yeah, we don't put the numbers on there. All of our distributors put the numbers on," which sounds to me like they already know that at some point in time they're going to get called out on this, that it's plausible deniability. But let me play a little bit of this. I'm not going to play the full 3 minutes, but every single meat item at Walmart or Sam's has been shown for many months now, and there's been a flurry of these videos the past week. they're raping people. They're charging them for, poundages that are false.
Actually, twice the meat that's there, Chris. All the ones I watched,
Yep.
I went through a piece, and they were half or less than what the actual poundage said. So they're charging you twice as much or more for the meat.
Yeah, 100%. Here we go.
Lawsuit coming, baby.
Hey, how you doing? All right. So I was going through to buy a ham, and I picked one of these hams up here, and I looked at it. I was like, whoa, $24.60. And I looked at the poundage, right? So I took it over your produce scale. It's over double the pounds. And then we just waited over there on the, she waited on the scale. All these hams are over double at $25. And what tipped me off was I came in the other day and got one, but I just put it back. I'm worried about other people. Like, how does that happen?
And this, we don't even weigh anything.
So the manufacturer weighs it.
Yeah. Even our
But
hamburger and all that.
Is somebody supposed to like put an eye on this to make sure it doesn't go out or what? I mean, I found those in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, Walmart just had a class action lawsuit for $48 million over this stuff, didn't they? Last year?
I haven't heard anything about it.
Oh, no? I mean,
I
I
wouldn't
stopped
admit it
after
either.
this many. So, I mean, I weighed them on your scale. She weighed them up here. So, like, what do you do at this point?
You said we don't even have a way of reweighing this stuff.
No,
We
you
don't
can't
even have
reweigh it?
scales, no.
Yeah, they do.
I just weighed them on your own scales, but we don't have a way of reweighing them. Let that say.
I have a way of weighing them on your scales, but you don't have a way to weigh them on your scales? Okay.
Jeff, just overall comments, like, this is not an isolated incident.
It's a scam, and either Walmart is getting ripped off by their distributors, or Walmart is ripping off the public. Whoever put that sticker on is ripping people off. And I suspect it's probably Walmart, because you don't trust a distributor, because a distributor can, well, they still can, they pump it full of water and then weigh it and put it out there. Yeah, those don't look like those are like canned hams or anything else. They're cut, packaged, shrink wrapped, and then you still got to weigh them to figure out how much you're going to sell them for. And the price, Walmart sets the price, not the distributor. Walmart decides if it's going to be on sale or not. Walmart decides if it's $2 or $2.50 a pound, whatever it is. So I think that's Walmart.
And they're not going to be able to go into court, Chris, and say with this man, oh, we don't even have a way to weigh it. We don't know. The manufacturer must have did it. Because like Jeff just said, I don't know any business of any kind at all that will come in, that has trucks that come and drop off product that don't make sure that's what they're supposed to be there. So they're not paying for something they're not getting. So Walmart is not going to get out of this, and they probably should need to be shut down, sued into oblivion.
Yeah, they're going to get sued, and they're going to be liable for it, even if it is the distributor who does it. You sold it. And
that's right. You're
took
responsible.
the money from the public, therefore it's on your ass.
Agreed.
They're trying to say they can't even fix it at the register.
Yeah,
they can't even fix it.
That makes no sense at all.
No.
There's also somebody in the live chat who said that Walmart's gas pumps have been shortchanging people. And as you all may remember, when I was in high school, I was a petroleum transfer engineer at a truck stop, and the gas pumps are set to dispense what the volume would be at 70 degrees. So if you swing either way, it could cut one way or the other. But I can tell you multiple times I've gone to fill up one of my trucks, and let's say it has a 30-gallon tank, and it's been 35 gallons to take to fill it. And I do not disbelieve the person in the live chat. Khalid, you get final swing at this one.
Look, it is impossible that you don't know how much that product weighs when you're selling it. Jeff's dead on. As a retail outlet, you're going to check weights before you sign off on something. And when you turn around and say, well, I don't have a way of checking it, that's a load of crap. It's completely possible that it comes into your store at the right weight, and your own people sit in the warehouse and put new stickers on them saying that, well, the 2-pound thing is actually 4 pounds and the 5-pound thing is actually 10 pounds. You're going to blame the distributor for it, but it may be your own people that do it. And Jeff's right. you get sued for it, you're the one that's responsible at the end of the day because you're the retail outlet. But Walmart as a whole has been a ripoff from the very beginning. I mean, they've never done quality business. They have always been lowest price, fuck you on everything else.
Yeah, well said, Cleet. So I just went and approved another batch of comments that CommuTube is blocking. And when we were playing the pretty/gun video, somebody responded that in reality they had slowed it down and it was not a gun. It was a butt plug that he was reaching for. And therefore he was murdered because the butt plug killed the ICE agents. So
well, that makes it a hate crime then, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would say so.
Don't drink your coffee while you're on the podcast, Khalid. You'll choke on it. All right, let's get everybody up on the screen over here. This whole thing with the Walmart overcharging for meat, though, I got to tell you that it couldn't be a better time to say, go to carnivalt.com. If you want to buy something one-off, use the code EATMEAT. You get 10% off. If you want to sign up for a subscription, though, you lock your price in for 12 months. I spoke to the guys at Carnivalt yesterday. For whatever reason, everybody that I work with across the board had a really slow week last week for sales, including us. And the prices, they're almost out of the old stock at Carnivalt. They still have a little bit left, but it's definitely going up this week. Go sign up for a subscription at carnivalt.com and you'll lock your price in for 12 months. And I don't want to leave our friends out at wasatchwagyu.com. Do not buy the dill pickle. It sucks. It's absolutely terrible. It's my cross to bear. I will look after the pickle. You guys can buy everything else. This is the best jerky in the world, bar none, except the dill pickle. The dill pickle is just, again, it's my cross to bear. But
I think they got you covered, Chris, because they sent me a bunch of them, but there are only 2 dill pickles.
That's correct.
Only 2.
That's because we're friends. I said, make sure you send me at least 2, and Jeff as well. But check this out. Until Friday midnight, if you use the code SD25 until midnight on Friday, you get 25% off. And if you spend over $99, not only do you get your annual subscription to the Guardians extended 30 days, Greg Wasatch is going to send you a 4-ounce bag of their traditional jerky as well. So it's a hell of a deal. $99+, discount code SD25, wasatchwagyu.com. I'll put the code in the link. Go ahead, Jeff.
Public service announcement. When you eat the ghost pepper, have a glass of water, cold water, close by. It sneaks up on you.
Yeah, cold milk is actually is the trick. It works a little bit better than water does, but anyway. All right, so we're getting ready to go into our main topic of the night. When Clede and I wrote this 144 episode series called The Long War, it's all predicated on one thing. Everything is post 9/11 2.0. So most of the time when you see a series of videos, people will not watch the second, third, fourth, etc. if they missed the first episode or the episode before. The way Clede and I put this together is that every single episode stands on its own. You just have to realize the context of it being post 9/11 2.0. I forgot to ask you this before we went live, Clede, but I was thinking that you should describe 9/11 2.0. Last time Mike Glover was on, I had him do it. So instead of people hearing me say it over and over again, I appreciate it if you could lay the groundwork on what 9/11 2.0 is, and then we'll get into the 5 segments.
9/11 2.0 is something that you have never seen happen in the U.S. You haven't even it's something that we've seen in the Middle East, but you guys have not seen the U.S. anywhere. It's a coordinated attack. It's 10 to 15 cities. Now we're actually hearing that the number of cities have gone up because of the insurgency that's happening in the U.S. We're actually hearing the number of cities has been increased. And there's a discussion right now inside the camps of how much the cities are going to increase. What you're going to see is teams of 6 to 10 different terrorists in teams of 3 to 4, 5 different teams in every city, moving through, hitting soft targets, creating a lot of mayhem, and then converging all into your level 1 travel, your tier 1 trauma centers. The goal with this is retribution for payback for what happened in Afghanistan, what happened in Iraq, what happened in Syria. the level of attack we're talking about, you have the Islamic State that is going to be running the ground assault, and they have a coordinated attack with Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, Tariq-i-Taliban, Pakistan, Lashkar-e-Taiba. They've taken the cream of the crop from every terror group that exists in the world, and they've brought them into the U.S. for the ground assault. On the other side, you have Al-Qaeda that is going to be carrying out an aviation plot, which is a repeat of what the Bojinga attack was, where they wanted to blow up airplanes in the air. They're not looking to hijack them. They're looking to blow them up in the air. They're going to be used as a weapon like that. So once they get over major cities, they will detonate, and you'll have fragments and people and body parts falling on top of cities, which will cause even more damage. The objective here, again, is to create such havoc, such mayhem, that no one can respond from anywhere. And we've said this over and over in the numerous conversations that we've had on the Long War series. You cannot expect first responders to protect you, because first responders will be terrorists as well. You will not be able to distinguish between the actual police officers, the actual firefighters, the actual EMS, compared to the people that are wearing the uniform. It's a mix of 7/7, October 7th, 7/7, 9/11. It's all going to be brought together. And when you bring it all together, you're going to see an attack that is going to ravage the United States. And the goal here, the reason they're not going after major cities like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, is because you have a police force. Of course, you have people that can bounce people up. When you look at the heartland of America, that's where you can do the most damage, not only emotionally but psychologically. From a kinetic point of view, it's where you can do the most damage there as well. You will see that roads will turn into parking lots. You will see that no one will be able to move anywhere. Your stores will be empty. The entire U.S. will shut down. 9/11, when it first happened, the entire U.S. shut down for 1 week. This will be much worse. It will be much worse. And if you go back and watch some of the past episodes we've done, you will understand how progressive and how clear that they have laid out this attack. The intelligence has been changing over the past probably about 45 days now. They are now looking at how easily they've been able to manipulate the the useful idiots inside the U.S. to create an insurgency that has given them the opportunity to carry out a major attack. And now they're going to use what they have created to blow up other people, to blow this up even bigger. And the problem you're going to see now is that too many people are saying, well, it's not going to happen. And I'm pointing at the yellow windbreaker, the youth-sized yellow windbreaker, that has been saying over and over that this is just clickbait. When it happens, it won't be clickbait, and you will not have a job afterwards. They will hang you in the streets, because you're the one telling the fusion centers that this isn't real. You're the one telling your SSAs in field offices to tell law enforcement that this isn't real. That means that your law enforcement is not preparing. And when you're not preparing, you're going to get hit even harder. And the level of attack we're looking at now, because of the insurgencies that are happening, and there's no other way to describe it, the insurgency that's happening inside the United States, you have given them cover to carry out a much bigger attack.
Yeah, not very comforting at all, Cleet. I can tell you that I met with a lot of law enforcement officers and leadership last week in SHOT Show, at Vegas, and pleasantly surprised that at least some of them are preparing for this. Some of them are aware of this, especially the law enforcement officers who are also GWAT vets. They've got their shit together. Now, on the downside, some of them told me that post 9/11 1.0, they had all these SOPs that were written. They were following the SOPs, and over time, it's kind of fallen off, and that's discouraging, because some of that stuff could make a difference. But I think we're not enough and too close to the big show. So let's move into segment number one. Actually, before I do that, quickly, go to survivaldispatch.news. That's our Substack. We're running a 24-hour sale on Guardian memberships, annual memberships, 40% off. It's only $47.99 to join. Our Element server, which is my server running open source software, has no backdoors, is not subject to big tech or big brother, is fully operational, 16, 17 different channels. We've got an awesome community there. So for 24 hours, you can pay $47.99 instead of $79.99, get a full year's membership. And then if you buy Carnival or you buy Wasatch Wagyu and your invoice is over $99, you just forward it to support@survivaldispatch.com. And I will tack on an extra 30 days each time you do that to your annual membership. All right, so let's get into segment number one. Again, tonight's episode is titled Faith as a Dividing Line. And we're pretty much convinced that faith is going to be the decisive line between communities that organize and survive because they've got pre-existing trust. They have pre-existing leadership. They've got things like mutual aid already set up versus those who falter and fragment into chaos. They don't have any of that stuff set up whatsoever. So I know I sound like a broken record, but the government's not coming to save you in any capacity, whether it's local feds or somewhere in between. Only your family and the relationships you've already built in your community, your neighborhood, your church, etc., with like-minded people, that's what's going to get you through SHTF and beyond. So segment one is titled Faith Unifying Religious Communities. In the wake of massive terror strikes, multiple cities, religious groups will pull together fast because they already have these strong bonds and community worship and support. And I think like the best way to describe them is faith networks. They'll kick in right away. They will be offering food, shelter, emotional backup, and support. They'll offer you the shirt off of their back. I've seen it happen. I'm sure many of you as well, that are going to help people, get through this mess and hold on when it seems like everything else is falling apart. And over time, this unity, it doesn't just get communities through the short-term mess, but it also rebuilds stronger ties that last long after the crisis fades. I would encourage you to talk to people from West North Carolina that were already good country folk, Appalachian folk, and how tight they are. Well, they were tight before. Now they're even tighter because of the shit they went through with Hurricane Helene. So with that being said, Jeff, I'm going to come to you first. I'm curious on your thoughts of, what do you think shared beliefs, what role do you think shared beliefs play in getting people to help each other during SHTF?
Well, I think it's pretty vital. I mean, you need to have a common sense of what's right and wrong, a common sense of what people deserve, what they're entitled to, for lack of a better word. I don't like the word entitled, but if you're going to establish a relationship, a community relationship, and one group thinks, well, the community should buy me a house and provide me with food and then take care of my kids. And the other group says, the community needs basically make it safe for us to live our lives and take care of ourselves. Those are two different points of view, and they are not going to mix well together.
So, Jeff, just a follow-up question to that. Do you have any examples that come to mind where religion turned chaos into some element of like organized support?
Well, religious groups, particularly Christian groups, do have a history of providing support and alms for the poor, that kind of thing, when the governments don't. If you look at during the Great Depression, before the advent of Social Security or any of that stuff, when people were hungry, it was other people in their communities, usually churches, who stepped up to help them with food. The idea of a community food bank definitely predates any of the government welfare programs. And if you look at during the Great Depression and even before that, soup kitchens were set up. They weren't set up by the government. they were usually set up by either church groups or social groups, the Salvation Army and things like that. It was only after the Depression, and they set up all the social programs, when people stopped doing that, and they rightfully said, well, if you're going to take all my money in taxes to do this, I'll let you. But the thing is, the government doesn't do it efficiently, and that's why you have so much fraud.
Yeah, good explanation there. So, Randy, whether it be, domestically or your travels around the world in the military, and other than West North Carolina and Hurricane Helene, I'm curious if you've seen faith groups step up, during disasters, and maybe give us some anecdotal examples of what came out of that.
Well, I honestly, when I was in uniform and over in Iraq, where I spent most of my time, you did have some Christian communities, but there wasn't much. It was a little better than it is today, because I think most of them are getting run over or killed off during today's time, and they had a problem with it then, because when you're a Christian in a Muslim country, bad things tend to happen to you, because kind of what we're watching right now. You got part of the population that believes this, and you got part that believes that. And then for some reason, one just decides we're going to do something about it. And it always seems to, when in an Islamic country, it's the Muslims that are doing whatever it is to the Christians. You don't ever hear of it being backwards. So I don't, I do recall some of them trying to help folks, but I don't really remember there were like programs set up, because again, it's not like the United States where you can worship freely, or typically and historically we're able to in this country. However, we've all seen those cases in this country, right? Now, you don't hear about it on the news as much. You got to wonder why that is. Well, you don't have to wonder. It's because they're excluding it. They're not going to cover it. But I remember when I was a kid, you would hear it all the time. If there was some sort of disaster, they would name out the churches that were doing stuff. And ever since I've been alive, certainly again in this country, every time that somebody have reached out and helped, or a group of people, more than not, it was churches and Christians that did that. Why? Because that's what it says in the Bible that you should be doing. And that are the principles to live by. And when you don't have those, or don't believe they're true, people just aren't going to extend themselves that way. They're going to make sure that they've got their own and they're taken care of, right? Where as Christians, that it morally and ethically you should share. Now, we will say there's a point to that, I do believe, because just like what we're looking at now, and we know during the Biden years, he signed into legislation and law that now FEMA can come into your house, and if you've been a prepper, they can now take all your stuff and spread it out to everybody else. And, I can tell you there's only one reason they're doing that, folks, and that's to help everybody starve to death about the same time. And as we've saw here, many people on here, mentioning how food banks and all these other places have less food. Well, the reason that is probably because less people want to identify as a Christian, less people are going to church, even less people ever read the Bible anymore. And so they're not giving to these places. And, the governments aren't either, and probably not for the same reasons. So the government's going to do it so that again, it comes down to, like I said on Monday, we've got two governments running right now. You have the one Trump's trying to run and do the right thing, and you have a shadow government being run by Obama and his puppets doing something completely different. And those are the people that apparently have the purse strings to a certain extent, and they certainly are able to make people do things in federal agencies that they're not supposed to, because according to this administration, you should be doing this, and they're doing that. So all that compiled up, you have less people giving, you have the government giving less. And so that's a problem. That's a problem, because food banks and even churches are the same, like a food bank. Where do you think the food bank got most of that food from? Churches and people making donations and that kind of thing. Or even you still see, I had one come through, and I don't remember if it was the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts or the school, but somebody here recently, came and put on our porch, if you wanted to give, of course, it's always during the holidays, canned goods or whatever you have, you put it in this sack and put it out on your porch on this date and time, and they'll come pick it up. When people do less of that, you have less in the food banks. And that's just the deal of it. And I know that isn't exactly answering what anecdotal the churches can do. I just think the problem with that is you've got to have people in there to do it. And then people have to be more giving. And certainly with the amount that people are fiscally pushed or financially, crunched right now, that's hard to do. As we've noticed, there are plenty of people in the chat here that, for whatever reason, don't have the money to do some of these things. And that's where probably 80% of the people in this country are, in that boat right there. And, the farther we move away from being a Christ-like nation and a Christ-like people, the worse that's going to get.
Well, I think there's another angle to this that's going to save us. And the topic was brought up by Brian here, but I think the Leering centers help us. He asked, and I got to say, yeah, I mean, there's our solution right there.
I will caveat on that. We should never underestimate God, but here's the problem. We've moved so far over the mark. God's answer may not be the one we want anymore, because as we saw, and I wish I could remember the exact verse in Bible of the book, but there is a story of a particular Jew, as the Jews were doing the same thing we're doing right now, moving further away from Jesus and God back then. He prayed every night, God, let's help turn the Jewish people around. And he prayed for this for many years. And when it came, it was the Philistines taking them over. And what did he say then? Oh, God, not this way. I mean, I wanted you to help us, but not this way. And that is the problem with man. We're going to move so far to the point when God's answer comes, it's not going to be the one you want.
Yeah, careful what you wish for sometimes.
That's right. That's right.
So, Cleet, I had a different question for you, but after listening to Randy, I think I got a better question for you. Can you give us some examples of Muslim majority countries where y'all have come together to help each other in a similar manner after a disaster?
Well, when you talk about Muslim majority countries, every Muslim majority country is different. I mean, if you look at Pakistan, for example, where I am, Christians are able to practice their faith without any kind of restrictions. Sundays, our churches are full. People are able to go to church. Nobody bothers them. The interesting thing we've seen in our country, in Pakistan, has been, it's always about the people. It's never been a religious thing with us when we come together in a tragedy. We've had earthquakes here where it didn't matter if you were Christian or if you were Muslim or if you were Sunni or if you were Shia. When the earthquake hit, everyone gave. They went out and bought tents. They donated food. They bought blankets. They bought pillows. People got in trucks and went to the earthquake areas. I mean, I myself, when the earthquake hit in 2007, when the earthquake hit, I got in a truck with a bunch of friends of mine, and we came to one of the earthquake areas, and we helped clean up, and we helped treat people, and we helped rebuild as well. We spent, I think, 5 months in an earthquake hit area, working with people to help them to get back on their feet. So for us, it's always been, it's not always a religious point of view, because it's like what Randy said. And we have this phrase here that, the best way to make God laugh is tell him what your plans are, because
that's good.
God always knows the best way to do things. And we can make whatever plans we want. We can say whatever we want, but when it comes time, it's God himself that opens the doors. It's God himself that creates opportunities for the right-minded people to step up and help everyone else. And what we've seen is, this is why things move forward. That earthquakes happen. Our government in Pakistan is absolute shit. I mean, our government doesn't help anybody. They only help themselves. But the people themselves come together and donate and give and travel and free medical care, and everyone is involved. Doesn't matter if you're a Christian or if you're Muslim or whatever faith you may follow. People step up. That is not the case in other Muslim countries. When you talk about places like Saudi Arabia, when you talk about places like the UAE, when you talk about places like Syria, when you talk about places like Kuwait, and when you talk about places like Iraq, you have a line where people say, I am Muslim, I will only help Muslims. I am Sunni, I will only help Sunnis. I am Shia, I will only help Shias. And that's where the division comes in, and that's where the misconception comes from. Is if you think that God is going to reward you just because you helped another Muslim, that's not what God said to us. God said, help all of humanity, not just the people that follow the same religion you follow.
Very, very well said, Clede. Thank you. That was an awesome answer. Awesome answer from all three of you for that matter. So we're going to move into segment number 2. It's titled Secular Fractures Without Faith Bonds. So without the glue of religious ties, secular folks in cities that have been hit with these terrorist attacks, they might scramble alone, and whether they do or not, it's most likely going to lead to more panic, definitely less coordinated help as trust breaks down amongst people. You know, people who are hungry and have no food will do extreme things. So this lack of built-in networks will leave these people fighting over resources, again, food, or pulling away. It will make the overall mess even worse and recovery slower. I mean, ever since we got cell phones, people just don't interact with people. The social side of things is no longer there. Well, the person you're talking to, you know, other side of the country, other side of the world, is not going to be there to help you when the shit hits the fan. You have to have tangible, real world, in present, you know, company and friends. So in the end, I think these cracks will show how when you don't have community roots, it can take a bad situation and turn into complete disorder for those who don't have any of those anchors. They don't have any of that community. So Jeff, coming to you first, whether it's religious or something else, can you describe what you think the weakest spots are for unconnected people, whether they're not religious or they're not part of any particular groups in their vicinity, and the weaknesses and the hurdles they're going to run into?
Well, they're going to run into any number of them. Okay. You may have a skill or a resource that your neighbor needs, and your neighbor may have a skill or resource that you need. If you don't know who your neighbor is, you can't barter with them because you don't know what they have. They don't know what you have. They don't know who you are and what you can do. And heaven forbid you get sick.
I forbid.
Okay. Good point. Okay. God forbid you get sick. Who's going to help you? You don't have any friends. You don't have any connections with people. And it's not a permanent thing. It's not like, I mean, they're going to have to take care of you for the rest of your life, or, you know, until you're sitting 100. But if, you know, say you get the flu, a real bad case of the flu, and you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your kids, you can't feed your chickens, you can't do whatever you've got to do. Wouldn't it be nice to call on a neighbor or a friend to help you out temporarily for a few days until you get back on your feet? And likewise, if one of your neighbors contacted you with the same, you would say, sure, absolutely, I can come feed your chicken, I can come take care of your cows.
No, very, very well said, Clede. So, Randy, you've been through your fair share of trials and tribulations. I'm wondering if you have any personal stories that highlight the downside of not having spiritual bonds, especially when the shit hits the fan.
Well, I think, no, because, you know, I grew up in church. In my 20s, I did like most men, certainly during my time period, and I went out and partied and have a good old time. What I can say about that is, you know, I can look back on those years and think and say I had fun, which I did. But I can look back now and see how destructive they were and how they didn't build on anything. And I was just going around in circles. Of course, I didn't know that. I didn't feel that, but that's what it was. And I will say, here's the difference, right? If you don't have faith in God, you don't believe in God, then really, what is there, right? What is there if this is it? Which that means there's no hope pretty much for anything, right? That's the truth of the matter. When you have faith, it gives you the strength to carry on. Some of that faith that helps you string on, that we all tag to ourselves, oh, well, you know, I had enough in me to push all the way through. Well, I will tell you, on every single long run I ever did in the Army, and that's, you know, 2 miles wasn't a long run. But during the PT test where I had to run wide open for that 2 miles, I did. But any of the 5 and 10 mile and 15-mile runs I did, I was literally praying through every one of those because I needed that strength to help because I hate running. I hate running. The only reason I did it is because I'd get kicked out of the club if I didn't. And so because I'd rather go in the gym and I'd rather do some other things to get the cardio, but running is, you can only get that running. You know, I've had a joke for a while, a running joke. Running and burpees, you know, are two things that if you're not in running or burpee shape and you start doing them, it takes a little buildup to get used to it, right? And that's how it is. So faith in God helps give you the strength to carry on when you don't have any. It's what gives you that bit of spark of hope to keep driving through when others would have long since quit and died. And that is the biggest difference. And then to know that there is a righteous God and that there is good, you know, and that and there is law and order and there is the truth. You know, without God, we don't have the truth. And we're looking at right now when humans start shaping the truth, just like I said earlier, the problem we have today, certainly with all these politicians, is the Constitution and the truth are getting in the way of what they want to do and what they are currently doing. And so that is what we're seeing. Like why I tell people all the time, and more people have come, you know, in the last 4 or 5 years have come to realize this, because before that, they would look like you had something growing out of your forehead when you told them the news is not telling you the truth. Not one word of that is the truth. It's all propaganda. It's all lies. And it's all shaped to change how you feel about certain topics and how you react to them as it comes up. As we were pointing out earlier, they paint the idea first, then the reason, and then it's logical to you when it comes later. It's the same thing. And without God, all that just runs rampant. And there is nothing that makes any sense or has any kind of goodness to it. And that is a fact.
So thanks, Randy. Jeff, quick question for you. As Randy was discussing that, I was thinking to myself, Don Mann in his position, that it's really, really, really hard to beat the guy who never gives up.
Yeah.
It's
well, when he mentioned burpees, all I could think was Don Mann too, because he terrorizes people with that on his show. Yeah, you know, I don't know what your question is really, but
I don't have a question. I was just bringing up our mutual friend Don Mann and how, you know, it's really hard to beat the guy who never quits. And then when you said tortures, that made me laugh because
he's a psychopath in his own loving way.
Yes, he is. Oh my God, that's hilarious. So Khalid, a little bit different angle on this one. I'd like you to, because you grew up here in America, you're one of us. What do you think the difference is between religious groups, church groups, and let's say FEMA and their effectiveness in helping fellow Americans when the shit hits the fan? I kind of know where you're going to go with this, but I wish I could actually send you like a glass of this right now, the BFE, so that you could get all fired up and come unglued. I'm telling you right now, when Randy gets it, we're going to have to put a heart monitor on him because he's going to get fired up. He's going to start banging the pulpit like this. And thank God he used to be a paramedic. Hopefully he'll recognize warning signs, but go ahead, Glee.
Well, here's your problem. I mean, so many people are now church goers, but not God believers. They don't believe in what they're going to church for. They go because, you know, they need to be seen there. They need to have, you know, have the attendance mark put in that they showed up for church on Sunday and on Wednesday. But when you ask them if their life follows what they are hearing in church, it doesn't follow it. And the biggest problem I see is you've got maybe 30%, 40% of America that actually still believe in God and believe in the Bible that they read. And you've got the rest of America that goes, well, there's got to be a different way. That's why you have so many people on SSRIs. You have so many people that are depressed. You have so many people that are looking for an easy way out. that easy way out doesn't exist. And I have to agree with Randy that when you actually have faith in God, you are going to find a solution. You're not going to give up. But when you start going, how can I find a way around this? How can I do this? How can I do this? You're not trusting God. The whole, as a Muslim, the thing we all believe is you have to put your life in God's hands, and whatever pathway God opens for you, you follow that pathway. When you start stepping away from that, saying, well, I know better, then you're going to lose those blessings. You're going to lose that guidance. You're going to lose that help that God would automatically drop in your life if you just followed what God said. And that's my problem. That's where I see the problem with churches nowadays, is that you have so many people that are just not faithful anymore. They go, they show up, but they don't believe. And when stuff like this happens, when 9/11 2.0 happens, you are going to find out who the real faithful believers are and who has just been playing the role. And that's going to scare a lot of people when it happens. And we're seeing it right now, because when you see people on SSRIs, you know they've given up on God. When you see people worshiping money, you know they've given up on God, because they believe there's a better way. I can find a better way to do it. That's not true. It's like I said before. You want to make God laugh? Tell him your plans. And then God will go, wait a minute, let me show you how I can screw those plans up for you.
Yeah, that's an interesting adage, and I appreciate that. So I want to show something really quickly before we go into segment number 3 that turned the whole like Reddit type crowd upside down when this came out. World's smartest man professes Christian faith on his social media. This guy has an IQ of 276. Is the world's highest IQ record holder. I believe that Jesus Christ is God, the way and the truth and the life. Down a little bit. The man with the highest reported IQ in the world has gained attention worldwide after publicly proclaiming his Christianity on social media. So just it's an interesting take from somebody who's clearly in the stratosphere compared to, Forrest Gump and us mere mortals. But wanted to share that quickly. But let's get into segment number 3. I titled it Religion as the Rally Point for Survival. So when 9/11 2.0 hits hard across cities, and then the follow-on terrorist attacks continue to hit hard, I would posit that places of worship become safe spots, where people are going to gather for protection, supplies, some sense of direction amid the chaos and the fear. I convinced that a lot of quality faith leaders will step up to organize aid and keep people's spirits high. So essentially turning their churches into, hubs that pull survivors together. I'm going to tell you straight up right now, my brother-in-law is a leader. This is a guy who was a sheriff for many years, Navy intel for many years, ran the desk on Bahrain, is back in the sheriff's department. He's world renowned as an evidence expert. The guy's a leader he in spades. He's also our pastor. He married Cindy and myself. And I can see him rallying people like few other people in our community. And keep in mind, this is a small Southern Baptist church, it literally in the middle of nowhere in Central Florida. So and he's an awesome human being, and there are other awesome human beings that are in his role as well. And I think that the effort that guys like him will put forward to rally people, that won't just save lives in the moment, but it will spark long-term resilience. And I think it is, I hate to see 9/11 2.0 having to happen to teach people certain lessons, but I think that it'll be a big eye-opener on how your church, your community, your pastor can, not only be the go-to anchor when all this stuff happens, but be the impetus for people to participate in their community more so going forwards. So, Jeff, first question's for you. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on what makes religious sites natural gathering places during SHTF, during emergencies.
Well, I think churches, for the most part, we're talking about churches, but also in certain, mosques and synagogues as well. but I'm going to look at it from a church standpoint. A church offers hope. Church buildings themselves tend to be large and powerful looking. So if you're looking for safety, that's a place you want to be. You know, you look at Europe and you look even all through Latin America, you know, you got a church in the center of town, which is bigger, it's substantial, it's solid. And from a military standpoint, that makes them more defensible. Think about the Alamo. But I think we're raised with the idea that church is where you go for answers. Church is where you go for hope. Church is where you go for support and for love and for understanding. And when the going gets tough, you need all that more than ever.
Yeah, you raised a number of good points there. Randy, I've got a couple potential questions for you. You don't have to answer both of them. You pick one or the other. One question is how do faith leaders help turn panic into, planned action, SOPs unfolding during SHTF? Or can you give us any examples of religion serving as a survival base in a real world crisis? Take your pick. Either one's yours.
Well, what I will say is, what pastors could do, how they do that is basically they rely on scripture, right? Because everything's in the Bible and anything that happens, it's already happened at least once. So there's some sort of context, and the Bible is an outline of how we're supposed to deal with all these problems, right? And struggles, because life, once we were kicked out of the garden, life was always meant to be a struggle. That's a fact. And it's never going to change. But the word, the Bible, the written word is our guide. If you actually read the Bible, because people say, well, when they talk about raising children, right? There's no manual, there's no book. Bullshit. It's all in the Bible. It tells you when you're a child, what age you become an adult. And there's many, many instances in the Bible that tell you how to raise your children. Well, it will also tell you how to deal with all these issues that happen in this life and on this planet, in this world. And they're not good. So it's a constant deal that you're going to have to keep dealing with. And I was trying to think really, man, and again, because we don't cover it in the news, and, I'm not like Jeff where every little fact that I've ever read is still stuck right here and just comes up right when I need it to. So what I would say is I don't have exact examples of when we could show, but again, there are plenty of them in the Bible, right? And it may have been a long time ago, but humankind struggle is always going to be humankind struggle. And, as Khalid mentioned, it's my favorite saying, right? If you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans, because our plans mean nothing. And they're only the part that we can see, right? Of our own little purview. And, in comparison to what, since God is, knows everything. I'm not going to say the words, I guess, and can see everything and can be everywhere at once. That is the help we need. And so it's tapping into that helps us with all these struggles. And again, there are plenty of verses and Bible verses of telling you how to deal with struggle. And I know people like, well, that's not really going to do it. And you see today, people are saying, well, what do you pray for? There's really no reason to pray. How's praying going to help? Well, praying has helped a lot. You're not going to get a yes answer to every prayer, and not even close. Why? Because it's probably not in the will of God. And that's hard for us to see because we're humans and we only see what affects us. And so then if it directly affects us, we expect it to be ABC. Well, with God, it might be CDE. And so I would just say that is why, as Jeff mentioned that, churches, as you asked him, why, has that always been the center? Well, it's because another way that God designed us was to be with each other. To be alone is not a good thing. And it's proven over centuries of time, being by yourself, people end up going crazy and senile and all that kind of stuff. Why? Because you are alone and you have no human interaction. We are made that way, which is exactly why when God created Adam, he found out real quick he needed to go ahead and make Eve, correct? Because he realized that even though he made this perfect world and garden and perfect man for it, the guy was lonely and he needed some company. And that is how we're built. That's how we're hardwired. Doesn't matter if you think you're different. It's only because of your own personal prejudices that you feel that way. And of course, they're cemented in your head. So you think this is how God made you, but really it's not. It's just what you've been shaped and jaded to. And you didn't overcome some of those struggles like we all do. None of us overcome every one of our struggles perfectly. It's because we're human and we make mistakes and we're fallible. And so that is where God makes the difference. That's where the Bible makes the difference. And it's why, since the beginning of time, Christians, or as Khalid said, the Muslims that follow the book will come out and help people because that's what it says to do. But for some reason, that is very hard for mankind to accept and to do. We all want our own little thing. And of course, the people that come into power and can do something about it do. It's another one of my favorite sayings. You want to see who somebody is? You give them a little power. They will show you exactly who they are.
Well, somebody taught me years ago. I don't know who it was. They said, actually, it just dawned on me. His name was Ron. He said, listen, you're young. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. It was my first foray into managing sales. And he said, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And I'm okay with that as long as you move to fix those problems as fast as possible. He said, but I'm going to tell you something. They will actually result in better customer loyalty because you don't truly know where you stand with someone until the shit hits the fan. So if there's a problem and you go address it right away, we're going to have a better relationship with that customer than we ever did before. And when I had this first wreck that cost me my vision, people who love to hang out at Chris, love to hang out at Chris's house, love to eat Chris's steaks and so on and so forth, poof, gone, disappeared, you know. So anyway, yeah, very well said. A quick PSA here from an audience member before Khalid goes, from Chris Bohm, posting in this chat now. Anyone interested in joining the Florida State Guard aged 18 to 60, Google us. We have our boot camp for new recruits in April. And yes, you can be on VA disability. We're full of vets. So this is state controlled guard, has nothing to do with the feds. It can't be federalized. A handful of states have it, Texas and Florida for sure. That's an awesome thing that he just mentioned and brought up. So Clede, coming to you to wrap up for me, segment number 3. What happens when the rally points that we have, these churches that are our rally points, what happens when they are the target of the attacks?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of what happens when. I think you have to understand that's going to be one of the targets of attack, because the people attacking you don't believe in God to begin with. This is the argument I've had for 15 years with everybody who likes to bash the Muslim faith. The people that are terrorists are not Muslims. They only use Islam to recruit people into their fold so they can indoctrinate them with violence. So what you're going to see is the first step that they take is going to be going after your churches, because they don't believe in God. So they're going to take God away from you in their minds. They're going to take God away from you. When they take God away from you, they expect the community to collapse. When the community does not collapse, that's when shit hits the fan for them. Because the mentality that you're dealing with is, well, we believe in a better God than you. We believe in a stronger God than you. But the God they believe in is not God. It's a gun. It's a bomb. It's violence. That's not God at all. And what you find out is when they come after your churches, they're going to meet the face of God. And when they meet the face of God, they're going to figure out where they're wrong. And the problem you're going to see is that people who have run away from the church are suddenly going to come back to the church and defend God. Because at the end of the day, the values we were taught as children come from that church, come from that Bible. And when you attack our Bible, when you attack our religion, when you attack our faith, we come and defend it. Whatever it takes, we will come and defend it. And that's the thing they're not counting on. A terrorist is a terrorist is a terrorist is a terrorist. Terrorism does not have a religion. They have ways to manipulate people. And when you see those manipulation methods like we've seen for the past 15 years, we understand that they are nowhere near God. They have no understanding what God wants. But they think, okay, we will bring Muslims in and then we will push you to violence. That's not what God wants. And it's one of those things that here you have to look at people going, wait a minute, it's Islam's fault. There are millions of Muslims in the US right now that are not prone to violence. They're not interested in going to war. Why are they different than the ones that want to go to war? There's a difference in mentality there. The churches are the first target because that is where God lives as far as the terrorists are concerned. They are going to go after your churches because they expect society to collapse once they go after the church.
Yeah, I appreciate your insight there. Good connections there, Clete, on leveraging a religion to basically sucker people in.
Well, before we move on, crowd, I was just going to say, without God, there is no strength, there's no truth, there's no light, there's no caring, and there's no love. That's a fact. All those without him are gone. And as Khalid mentioned, one of the things, if they think they come and crush all the churches, then guess what? We have no faith and hope, and we will just roll right over because it's taken away your culture. And whether it was our own civil war or many other wars, that is how defeat happened. You had to actually defeat the culture, and that's how a society was beaten. It's how the South lost. But the fact is, without God, we don't have any of that. And so it's why you would target it if you were an enemy.
Yeah, so it's interesting you would say that. I've got a couple messages from one of our guardians over on our Element server tonight asking about starting a channel on this very topic on culture and religion. So I think we're going to do it. That'll put us somewhere around 17, 18 channels over there. And just a quick reminder, if you go to survivaldispatch.news before midnight tomorrow night, you can get 40% off an annual membership. It's at our Guardian. So you get the 17 channels and a whole bunch of other stuff. You get the Survival Dispatch emergency notification system. We sent one out, I don't know, a few weeks ago. We hit every single person one way or another. So knock on wood, we don't have outages like the federal emergency broadcast system because I built half a dozen layers of redundancy into our emergency notification system. So with that being said, let's jump into segment number 4. I'm going to speed things up a little bit so we can put a lid on this thing before Jeff's wife comes hunting for me. Segment number 4, I titled Faith Deepening Societal Divides. So as these 9/11 2.0 attacks unfold, faith has the ability to sharpen lines between believers and non-believers, with religious folks banding tight together while the others feel left out or even specifically targeted. And the split will grow when the blame games start, which the legacy media is going to do, which the shitbags that we call politicians are going to do. And they're going to pit groups against each other, and they're going to make unity even harder when we've got a country that'll already be on edge and that's already fractured before 9/11 2.0 even kicks off. So over the long haul, these deepened divides, they could potentially derail any recovery for America. We may never see America resemble anything like what it has during our lifetime. And so I think for a lot of people, faith will be a flashpoint. Somebody else alluded to this, instead of a fix. In other words, they'll gravitate to it when SHTF hits, but after time, they'll just kind of fade away because they never really did believe. So, Jeff, coming to you with the first question, I'm wondering your thoughts on how terror attacks might make faith differences feel even more pronounced and sharper in real life interactions.
Well, I think what you will see is the people of faith will handle it better. And that will become obvious to the others, not necessarily the people who don't have faith, but the people of faith tend to take care of themselves on their own. Everyone else the other groups all say, well, the government should take care of it. Well, guess what? The government's not going to be able to take care of you. And so they're going to look at the faith-based people, the ones who are taking care of themselves or like the prepper community, are doing okay because they prepared, and they're going to look at them with jealousy and say, they have more than I do, and I'm entitled to have just the same amount that they do. And that's going to be you have your stuff that you paid for, that you had the foresight to amass and to be ready with, and that makes you greedy. Whereas me, who wants to take your stuff that I didn't stock up, that I didn't pay for, that I didn't do anything for, I'm a victim if you don't give it to me. And we see that today constantly. Oh, the rich need to pay their fair share. Okay, they already, like California, they pay something like 46% of California income tax comes from the top 1%. But apparently that's not enough, because there's people at the lower end who still want free stuff. And you're going to see that, but instead of I want it from the government's not going to have anything. So they're going to take it. They're going to want it from people who have it. And that's going to be preppers. That's going to be the religious people who have worked together. And the religious people can't give it to everybody. There's just not enough stuff to go around. And it's not, and I'm one of those, I'll help you if I can, but I'm not going to starve my family so that, to make up for your stupidity.
Yeah, well said, Jeff. So Randy, coming to you next. Can you think of any times when, faith and religion has actually fueled, a bigger split rather than bringing society together? I'm trying to think of something. I'll be honest with you, I haven't been able to come up with any answers.
And at the Mormons church, didn't they have, back in the day, they had a huge split because they didn't agree. So one said, well, we're going to take half the congregation and go do our own thing. And the other one went the other direction. But, you see that a lot in religion, right? Because everybody reads it and that message is a little different to each person. So then what you have is just like what we're watching on what, as our elected officials, because I don't call them our leaders anymore, but the leaders in the church, they're humans, right? Or we'll take the Catholic Church, for example, right? Look how many people they've driven away from the church because they allowed pastors to be pedophiles. And instead of actually holding them accountable, they just moved them to another church, another area, another state. And they drove a lot of, and to this day, you will hear people say they don't go to church or don't believe in religion because of that very thing. Well, here's the problem with that, right? Because they're all humans. And what are humans going to do? They're going to let us down 100% of the time. We've let ourselves down. Do you think it's going to be any different for anybody else? No. That's why you're human. And, so it's those points of view that make the difference. Khalid and has described it in the Islam world far better than any of us could, but it's the same thing that I've said to a certain degree, right? I don't have the specifics that he has, but what I did notice is all the people can't read over there, read or write, and then they listen to the imam tell them what it says in the Quran. They can't read it themselves. So unfortunately, again, mankind is in charge on the planet down here. So he can come up with any excuse, any lie. He can say it means this when it doesn't really mean that, because he's got an objective. He's got an agenda. And that is where the problem lies, because then they don't do things the right way or for the right reasons or for God. They're doing them for themselves and whatever their agenda is. And so we've seen religion do that a lot over the centuries. And we're watching it kind of right now in this country as one more time we move further away. This country's moved away several times and had revivals. We need another revival right now to bring some of these people back on board, because again, without God, we don't have faith, we don't have hope, and we don't have care or love or light. What are we going to do without light? We don't, it doesn't take a rocket science to answer that question. So God is never going to let us down. God will never do us wrong. But the problem is when people see a pastor or someone else do it, they blame God. And you're completely wrong when you do that. And so I think that is where the big problem is. And then again, everybody believes what they believe. So again, if you have two leaders in that institution that see things, even they don't even have to be diametrically opposed. They just have to be opposed enough that they're going to fracture the deal. And I heard of a pastor here recently that this guy nixed half of his congregation just because they argued with him on a single point. So then cut them off and moved on with the other half. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you're the other half, why did you stay with this guy? Because he just showed you what he's going to do if you don't even agree with them. And then again, is that a godly way of handling it? Absolutely not. But man will, and that is our problem, because man is who's running the show down here, so to speak. Now we know God is in charge ultimately, but man has free will. That's why you have the free choice to go to hell if you want and don't believe, or you have the free choice to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior and, have everlasting eternal life. Those are your choice, but it's a free will choice. So God's not going to come down here and stop every bad thing that's happening. It's just not the way it works. And bad things happen to good people. But it's what he does with that later, right? And if you don't believe me, people, just think the worst thing that ever happened to mankind was when we crucified Jesus Christ on the cross. That is the worst thing we've ever done by far. And look what God turned that into. God turned that into the way for Christians. That is how now through Jesus Christ, you can still be in the will of God and under his umbrella, because otherwise we're just like Adam and Eve. You're kicked out. You're separated from God. And that is where you find the problem.
So when you said the word revival, Randy, I'm starving, so I cut some of my Wasatch Wagon here. And our female pit bull rescue, who's been sound asleep on her bed right there. As soon as I open this, I hear, I look, she's like right beside me here, drooling all over. She's looking at me like I'm a crazy man or something, licking her chops. Anyway.
It's funny when I was talking and I saw you take a bite of it, I was just sitting there thinking the same. I was like, well, it's a good thing my dogs can't hear and smell that right now, because they would be over here all over me.
I didn't realize you were eating it. That's why my dogs are over here bitching. But
yeah.
They hear it.
Well, let me tell you something. When our dogs are around and I open this stuff, they're all over it like a fat kid on a Sonic milkshake. So they can't stay. It's crack cocaine for them as well. So with that being said, Cleet, you get final word on segment 4, and then we'll wrap up segment 5. I want to hear what your thoughts are on how the media is going to play this division between us and them after 9/11, or even during 9/11 2.0 happening. They're evil people as it is, but I can foresee them using this to drive the wedge even deeper between the two sides.
Well, you've got a good example of what's going on in Minnesota right now. You look at what's happening with ICE right now. You can see exactly how the media is going to operate. I mean, the media itself has an agenda. We have gone from a news media to infotainment to agenda-based reporting. And when you go into agenda-based reporting, you no longer tell the truth. All of a sudden, you are looking at how you can demonize one party and use it against the other one. And we're seeing it right now with ICE. Anyone who is watching what is happening on TV with the media can understand what's going to happen when 9/11 2.0 happens. You are going to have people demonizing the government, demonizing everyone, saying, well, it's this person's fault, it's this person's fault, it's this person's fault. It's not going to help anything. When the media should be working together to unite the people, to find a solution, to work together. Instead, you're going to be pushing everyone apart. And once you push everyone apart, you're going to have patches of different wars starting. You're going to have the South against the North, the East against the West. Everyone is going to be fighting everyone because the media is going to push us apart. And the easiest example you can see is what's going on right now. ICE is doing their jobs. They are enforcing the law, but look at how the media is portraying it.
It's disgusting, Clede. When I hear them assholes like Tim Wall say that, ICE officers are not law enforcement officers, I just want to reach through the screen and strangle them, literally. Such a retard. So moving into segment number 5. It's titled Spiritual Communities as Key Survival Assets. In the chaos after all of these 9/11 2.0 strikes, I think that you'll see spiritual groups they'll shine as ready-made teams. The trust is already there amongst these teams. The resources will already be there, and that will be what keeps many members alive and functioning. And these networks will be able to provide just about everything from shared info, to moral support, to food, water, shelter, all of these things that churches have done for many, many years, especially Christian churches. And if you look a little bit ahead right now, because we're on the bubble, the attack window is essentially open. Investing in these ties, investing in these communities could mean the difference between you making it through post 9/11 2.0 or not making it through. It's really that simple. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Jeff, on how can these church communities prep better than what they're already doing based on the enormity and the downright evilness of 9/11 2.0. This is not a run-of-the-mill type of thing when it unfolds. It's going to be beyond anything we can imagine. By the way, I barely got the last of my Wasatch Wagyu, and my hand looks like that girl who grabbed a hold of the flashbang the other day. Go check this out. Bailey, that's her head. You can see her ears right here.
Yeah.
She's got a pit bull attack for daddy, right?
There she is.
She's such a good girl.
Well, the good thing for you is, Chris, you probably don't taste quite as good as the beef there, so you'll be safe.
Yeah.
That is a fact. But she's now trying to get into the chair with me here, and this one is such a precious little girl. She was a bait dog, so they tape their mouths shut with duct tape and throw them to other dogs to practice fighting and stuff, and she was pretty horribly damaged when we got her many years ago, and she's just a sweetheart. Anyway, but getting back on target, so the question is, Jeff, how do you think the church communities could prep better for what's coming during and after 9/11 2.0 versus what they're already doing, just because of the enormity of what's on the horizon?
Well, to be honest, I think they need to emulate the Mormons. The Mormons have what we consider prepping is part of their religious doctrine. They keep so much food. They have their little networks within their church and their families already set up. And they recognize that, there's no guarantee there's going to be a disaster, but if there is one, they're ready for it. And that's part of the survival of their faith. And your faith only survives when your people survive. So Mormons have done a good job. And I think other Christian groups need to look at that and go, we need to take a page or two. And on that note, I have to bail so I don't get divorced.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your time, Jeff. Great example. Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
All right. So moving to you next, Randy. Can you think of any real life examples of where these faith networks outlast other, support things that people put in place, outlast, say somebody going to the VFW, the Legion, whatever the case may be, and how, churches in general are sticky, right?
Well, I think what Jeff touched on a while ago, or just now with the Mormons, really, it's probably indoctrinated into their religion, but they're just doing what people have always done before this time, right? Like before our time, and certainly in the 1800s or any time before, there wasn't a 7-Eleven and McDonald's on every corner. There wasn't a grocery store on every block or in every city. So people had to plan for that stuff. And I think that's all it is. Now, the examples of a church, well, just look how long the church has been around. It's still here for some reason. Now, of course, some of it's fractured off. But, if you look at Jesus died, 2,000 years ago, a little more roughly, right? And then the Bible spoke about him 2,000 years before he was even born. So we're looking at 4,000 years of God, and he probably had more So what the real reality of it is, you want God on your side because he also helps make things happen when it's for the right reasons at the right time and it's in his will. If you're not, you don't get that either. You don't. And so the thing about churches the reason it is because it's the fellowship, right? It's the fellowship that we all have when we're there. And it's like what you mentioned a while ago. Then people get to know each other, right? Over time, we get to know each other. Unlike we know our neighbors today. I know a couple of them, but I don't know that many. And it's just kind of how it goes today. And even if I go over there, which we have, you can go talk to them, but it's not like that builds up a lasting relationship. So when you have a relationship with God, that helps make, for one, you try to do things for the right reasons at the right time, right? Where without it, it doesn't matter what the reasons are, as we just discussed. They're going to do whatever suits them best and, topples their enemies the most, whether it's right or wrong. And being right and in the right, there's something to be said about that, right? Everybody knows about karma. That's spirituality. Karma is not karma. It's spirituality. And that comes from God. As I mentioned previously on the show, the reason many people have such a problem understanding the Bible is, one, they might be drinking, or they might be high or something else. You're not going to be on a spiritual plane if you're that way. So reading the Bible would do you no good. But the Bible is a spiritual book written by a spiritual being. And that is why it's harder for us to understand when we haven't we don't have a strong spirituality, we'll say. So the longer you're in faith and the more you do what the Bible tells you to do, the stronger you build that faith. Well, the funny thing is, as we've noticed over the centuries, the people that actually do that, it works out very well for. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to have an easy life or they won't die early or something bad won't happen to them. Because in fact, again, we have our one example. If you want to go back to the one example we have, it is Jesus Christ. Look how it ended for him. And he warned us, if you're going to follow me, it's not going to be easy. And that's one of the misconceptions we have today with Christianity and religion, period. People think that now they go get saved, all of a sudden now everything in their life is magically going to come together and be better. To a degree, that is true. But it doesn't give you a carte blanche. Nothing is going to happen. It's just not the way it goes here. But having the faith in God, having God on your side is a proven measure of, things will work out for the better. And again, as we talked about, even when something bad happens, the Bible tells us we should be thankful for that too, because of the lessons you're going to learn from those trials and tribulations. And what's the old saying go? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's what they're talking about. Not only makes you stronger, it makes you smarter, doesn't it? And so I would say that is why it was such a big deal. That's why everybody came to this country. That's why everybody left Europe back when they did and came to America and started America, because of freedom of religion, the freedom of religion. They wanted to practice Christianity like it is in the Bible, and you couldn't do that under monarchs. You still can't to this day. You can't under this government anymore, because in the beginning, even this government was supposed to be submissive from God, and they have decided that's not the case. So what do we have? We have a bunch of politicians that will lie straight to your face, right through their teeth, knowing they are, because just like as Khalid mentioned in Minnesota, let's take it for an example. Why is the leadership telling them to go fight ICE? They want some of those people to get killed so they can do just like they did with Pretty and Good. They don't care about them specifically. They really don't. They're happier that they got dead now that they can use that story to try to grind us down a little more. Well, without religion, there is no stopping that. There is no stopping that without the church. And so that is our only buffer between good and bad. And we just need to learn how to use it better and be more faithful and actually compliant to God. Because I hear all kinds of things today of what pleases God. Well, you're all wrong. There's one thing that pleases God, and it's called obedience. And obedience, no adult likes that word, right? Because that means you're going to have to do something you don't want to do, or maybe you wanted to do something because you like it. but it's not right, or it's it's not ethical or moral. But some people will still do it. Without those checks and balances from God and religion, that stuff runs unchecked. And we're watching it right now in real time. Why are the politicians in Minnesota saying that, in Minneapolis? The same reason the rest of them are, and certainly out in California, heck, even here in Texas, because they know they're guilty, folks. They know they're stealing all this taxpayer money. They know they are breaking the law. They know they're committing treason. They're not going to admit it. So the best way for them to avoid it is to constantly keep things stirred up out here and things violent. Because even when the Pentagon was going to have to answer their $2 trillion that were missing, what happened? September 11th happened, and no one ever asked them again about that $2 trillion. That's our example of today. Why did we never circle back on that? Well, it just went on by. So the more, and it's why our news now from day to day, there's a whole nother event every single day. So 2 months from now, are we going to be talking about pretty and good? Nope. It'll be 2 other or 10 other folks or whoever it is at that time or whatever is going on then. Yep. The news cycle just keeps running you straight out, and we're all tired of it. It's why I turned off the news. I don't watch it, period. But, I don't know if that answered the question, Chris, and I apologize, but I hope that gave a message to somebody.
I'm sure it did. Absolutely sure it did. So, Clede, you get final say on tonight's episodes, at least the main topic. With 9/11 2.0 on the horizon, what advice do you have for people who don't go to church, don't want to go to church, but want to have some sort of a support system here at the 11th hour? Are they completely SOL, shit out of luck, or are there things that they can do to try and find their way into the good graces of existing groups?
Look, you have an established system of churches where you can find unity and fellowship, but you have to surrender to religion. You have to surrender to the will of God. And that's the hardest thing that people are having to do right now, is saying that, well, what I want isn't as important as what God wants. It's something that we say to a lot of people over on this side of the world as well, that, you can scream and yell as much as you want about how much money you want to earn, what kind of job you want and this, but when you can't lend a hand to your fellow man, God's not going to help you. Because as long as you say, well, I can do this by myself, then you can never find a place in God's world. God did not create us to be alone. God created us to be part of a fellowship. God created us to be part of society. God created us to be human beings. And being a human being means you are part of a community. If you are not part of that community, then you lose out automatically. And the biggest thing people can do right now is go back to church. Start off reading your Bible, and don't read it for what you're looking for. Read it for what God is telling you. When you understand what God is telling you, you'll automatically be drawn to church. I mean, it took me, to be very honest, it took me a couple of decades to figure this out. But once I figured it out, I went, wait a minute, I am on the wrong path. When I started reading the Quran for what God was saying to me, I was like, okay, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong path. And then life started getting better because I started to understand that, look, what I want isn't what God wants. What God wants is what he's going to give me. And sometimes it may be a problem. Sometimes it may be great. Sometimes it may just be okay. But I have to deal with it. I have to live with it, and I have to grow with it. And that makes me a better person. And you never know, down the road, that trouble, that tribulation you went through may help somebody else. So the biggest thing I can say to people is, first, get your Bible off of your bookshelf. Start reading it for what God is telling you, and he will automatically draw you to the church himself.
Great answer as usual, Clede. I'm not surprised at all. So I would just wrap this up by saying that the threat environment is escalating due to rising radicalization from foreign and domestic actors, especially as Clede pointed out. These, freed ISIS prisoners, they didn't escape, they were freed, are getting European passports coming into the country with one mission: to kill Americans, on top of who knows how many jihadis we now have in our country. We know it's over 218,000. That's the minimum that Biden and Mayorkas let go, that are either special interest aliens or 100% Al Qaeda, ISIS, or some other terrorist entity. So I would say for most people that your church community is probably your most critical survival asset beyond your family. And that if you're not connected to a church in your community and you don't want to be connected to a church, well, just re-listen to what Clee just had to say. I think you'd be better off being part of a church than not being part of a church. And I think that if you ask people in general with questions that you have with regards to preparedness, that people in church environments are probably going to be willing to help you and give you information. You could potentially use that as a litmus test as to whether or not a church really appeals to you. And the next part to that, and I know some people, they hate hearing about comms, but that is in my wheelhouse. Get your comms in order ASAP. Dr. Mike and I are doing a bunch of testing this weekend. I think we have one more testing weekend after that. Then I promise you we're going to release the mother of all comms video / articles for everyday Americans, even other countries as well. So I would end the main segment by saying go to church this Sunday, and start by people you meet in the church, people you work with, people in your community, building a list of at least 10 families, households, friends, whatever, that you can reach out to when the shit hits the fan, pardon me. And if you subscribe to Survival Dispatch Guardian memberships, which is 40% off until midnight tomorrow night for the annual plans, it's only $47.99. You will get SHTF alerts, and you will get them guaranteed versus the emergency broadcast system, which goes up and down like a toilet seat. So with that being said, let's get to, hold on a second. It's been so long, Randy. I dang near forgot about this stuff.
I was waiting.
It's that time. Shame on me. It is time. 4, 3, 2, 1. It is time for the Carnival Hero of the Night. I actually chose 2 people to be the Carnival Hero of the Night.
Is this Carrot Top?
Because, well, just no, but hold on a second here. Because you and Khalid and I are all within a year of each other age-wise. We're all Gen X. This is from 1981. There are 2 heroes. One's kind of like a so-so hero. The first hero is kind of so-so. The second hero, indisputable, one of the greatest American heroes of all time, 19 seconds.
Wednesday, the greatest American hero is up to his cape in trouble. A firebug is hot on Bill's tail. Fly faster, Ralph. Then, Colt's flying high when he teams up with the prettiest cop in town.
This is my golf cart and a one-man show.
The Fall Guy.
Wednesday. Hold on, I got to back that up. And anybody who says the $6 Million Man, and I know that's not what this TV show was, but Lee Majors will always be the $6 Million Man to me.
That's right.
It's not a real hero. Check this out one more time.
This is my golf cart and a one-man show.
The Fall Guy.
Now tell me that's funny.
Hey, and that was state-of-the-art special effects back then, Bubby.
Yeah, boy, you know, flying off. I mean, the greatest American
Even
hero.
when they jumped over the fence, that was hilarious.
Yeah, well, it's kind of goofy, but that, you know, was really truly what the 80s was like.
Oh, yeah.
See, there we go. Scotty McDonough's the $6 Million Man.
Well, you remember, that's when we were playing Atari, and it was like Pong. Dun, 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 dun. And Asteroids, that was in Defender.
And Yar's Revenge. Don't forget yours.
Yep.
All right, so rolling into the conflicted question night. Maybe tomorrow night. 3rd time's a charm, right? Maybe tomorrow night I'll have my shit together after taking such a long hiatus from the podcast. So describe the average person in the military today. If given a choice, do you think the majority would stand up for what is morally right? Or would they do what they are told, and why? So, Randy, I obviously have to go to you first on this one.
Man, you know, I wish I had the true answer to this. But even as far as when I got out in 2012, when I retired, medically retired in November of 2012, I can emphatically say, even though at that point Obama had already eviscerated the general officer corps and all the conservatives were gone, still the military as a whole, there's no way in hell you would ever get them to follow these orders. This would be the orders the seditious six were talking about. And of course, you don't have to remind military members of that whatsoever. And everybody that's been in them ever spent a day in the military knows this for a fact. And so, however, we have to take into account that everything that's happened, certainly even since COVID, look how many people they kicked out in COVID because they wouldn't take the shots. What does that tell you? Well, that was the litmus test for who would follow stupid ass orders and who wouldn't. And the people that they kicked out were the people that weren't going to take the shot because, well, you were smart not to. And so I want to say that I would hope, if nothing else, there's still enough good NCOs in the military that this would not happen. But I cannot say that with a certainty anymore because of the way things have changed. You know, and just to point out one, and I served under him. He was the second 4-star SEAL team or SEAL guy. So I served under both the SEALs that ever made it to a 4-star admiral, and that was Admiral Olson. He was the first one. Who was in charge. He had just took over from General Brown of SOCOM when I came to SOCOM as an injured NCO, still a patient. And then after him was Admiral McCraven. Now, I don't know where Admiral Olson stands. I couldn't tell you, which is a good thing. But I think he was a conservative just because of the way he acted and his demeanor. So let's take Admiral McCraven. And I know he's wildly popular, but the guy's a diehard liberal and he loved Obama. So I don't care if he came from SEAL Team 6. I don't care how good his speeches are. The guy is a left-wing nut job. And I was never more mad when the University of Texas, which is a Southern school and should be a conservative school, hired that guy. And I know everybody still wants to talk about his make your own bed speech. So what? So what? If you think that guy, anyway, my point to it is, I don't know, Chris. And that's the sad part of where we are today, because who's in charge of them to begin with and what are they doing? I don't know. But I know historically, you would never get the United States military to join in and start killing U.S. civilians over this kind of stuff. That's where we still are, but I don't know.
You know what, Randy, I kind of foresaw that answer coming, to be quite honest with you, because I've heard too many people talk about the whack jobs that are still in our military, and
and they these generals fully enveloped that DEI crap. And the military is the worst place in the world that you would ever want those kind of metrics determining who was leadership and who isn't.
Yeah, like I said, I've watched some content from other people on this particular topic, and it's not promising. So, Khalid,
no, it's not. Scary.
Speak from the aspect of, when you were here in America as opposed to Pakistan. Where do you think we are right now on this one?
Well, back when I was in the U.S., I mean, it was always morally right. There was never a question of not following our order, because the orders were always morally right. Now, where we stand, I would really question whether the military is giving morally right orders. That's partly because of what Obama has done. It's partly because of what Biden has done. It's partly because of what Miley has done. You have turned the military into almost toothless. And you've got people going, well, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. Let me use my own judgment. There is no your own judgment. And if your command is not morally strong, they shouldn't be in command. And the problem we've got right now is because of all the DEI hires, all the people that were promoted they shouldn't have been promoted. We've got the wrong people leading the military. And I agree with Randy. McCraven is great speaker. I mean, great speeches, but you aren't a leader. It shows. And he's an example of what's happened to the U.S. military. You don't see those teams anymore. And you don't see those. So just the fact that you don't see that level of respect for a soldier anymore when he's out in uniform on the streets it tells you where the command is gone. I don't think they're being given the right orders because the orders are tainted to begin with, because the officers are tainted.
Yeah, don't forget Mad Dog Mattis too, because I know a lot of people like that guy, and I'll probably take some heat, but the guy's a douchebag. And to prove that, you know, you can see what he said after he's left office, you know, about Trump and some other things. And then I know for a fact that there were Green Berets that were in trouble when he was back in theater, and they called back to that Marine unit, and Mad Dog Mattis said, that's your problem. We're not sending any of our Marines to help you. And he left them out there, hung them out to dry. So I don't care if you were a different service. That's what Americans have never done that. And that was one thing I know for a fact Mad Dog Mattis did. And I know that most SF guys can't stand the guy for that very reason.
And honestly, I don't disagree with you at all. The guy was not one of us. He's not a real American, TM Randy Nance, at all.
That's right. At all.
You know, not at all. So that's basically it for tonight's broadcast. Couple quick reminders. Go to survivaldispatch.news. 47% off annual memberships right now to become a Guardian. You get access to 17, 18 different super private and secure uncensored channels. You get behind the scenes content. We have webinar technology now configured and in place. We're going to start doing some private webinars for Guardians only. Randy, by the way, check your inbox. The onboarding team have got you hooked up. Other than that, I would show you some Wasatch Wagyu, but there's like 5 empty things beside me. I only eat one in front of all you.
You're right. You did turn it into a meal, Chris.
You're damn skippy. I do. I make all this stuff. So what Randy got some today, and what
Oh, buddy.
Now I have to go tell Greg that Randy is even worse than me. He ate the whole delivery today, Greg. Just so you know, Randy, there's no Wasatch Wagyu jerky left. But in all seriousness, until Friday midnight, go to wasatchwagyu.com, 25% off. This is not something that happens very often. The discount code is SD25. If you buy over $100 and you're an annual subscriber to the Guardians, I'll tack on 30 days, and Greg's going to send you an extra 4 ounces of their jerky to go with it. And of course, don't forget about our friends at Carnival. This is like the best prepper food in the world. These are the dog treats that have now turned my dogs into crack addicts, in addition to myself being a crack addict.
And apparently John Fernandez is too.
There you go. So the thing with Carnival, by the way, is this bag, and Randy can attest to this, 6 ounces of uncooked 100% American beef. You reconstitute it, becomes 1.5 pounds. There's no fishiness on how much you get in these bags like there is from the bullshit at Walmart and other grocery stores. If you buy something one-off, use the code EATMEAT, get you 10% off. But better, if you sign up for a subscription, you lock your price in for 12 months. You ain't going to get that anywhere else for 100% American product that is actually it. You know what? I was thinking to myself, Randy will agree with this. This is beef so good that will not kill you, like the stuff that you get out there. This beef that will not kill you.
Dude, I had some of the pork today. I had some of the pork with rice and gravy, man. It was just, or whether it's the beef or the chicken, the 5-star chefs who use this meat for, because they're acquainted with or friends with the guys from Carnival, say that the pork is the best pork that they've ever found anywhere. Yes, the chicken and the steak are fantastic, but it's pretty amazing for them to say that the pork is that high a quality. And, when Clee gets back home here to America, even though he's Muslim, I'm going to sneak him in some pork and he's going to love it.
I don't mind the pork chop. I may be Muslim, but the pork chop will always get me.
Well, Khalid, you know what you were saying. Chris would be the soldier that threw you the pork MRE, right? Because you can't read English. Here you go, buddy. You hungry? There's a good meal right there.
Listen, if anybody can pull it off, Agent 00711 can pull it off. That's at the end of the day. So anyway, guys, as usual, I appreciate all of your insight and being on the panel with us tonight, especially Khalid. He gets up at middle of the night so that he can participate. And we'll have more news for you soon, by the way, on his midday show, the early edition with Khalid. It's probably going to be, midday Eastern or Central time, but that's going to fire up fairly soon. We just got to figure it out so it's not putting an undue load on him. Plus, I don't want to conflict with JJ Carroll, who's currently on our channel every Monday to Friday at 12 noon Eastern. Speaking of which, I saw somebody asking in the audience about our YouTube channel. So we have one YouTube channel that's like this much shy of 446,000 subscribers. It is incredibly suppressed. It's suppressed because of me talking about things like, ivermectin during Charlie 19 and not to do the thing that goes in your shoulder. It goes back to the fact that we had 1,300 gun videos on that channel. They suppress the living shit out of that channel. It's absolutely disgusting what they've done to that channel and how they've silenced us after we worked so hard to build it. So you ready for this? This podcast tonight, right now, with 446,000 subscribers, got 1,765 views. But check this out. Our itty bitty channel, which doesn't even have 5,000 subscribers, is already at 3,498 views. So you're talking a small channel that's 1% of the size of the big channel getting almost twice as many views. Actually, it is twice as many. So that's how suppressed our big channel is. So you watch either one, youtube.com/@survival dispatch or at the @ survival dispatch news, and the small channel's the news one, and it gets way more traction. So go figure. Anyway, we will be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern usual time, with the next episode in our Long War series. And it's titled The Second American Partition. The theme is the breaking of the Union. And the summary is the potential fracturing of the United States into autonomous regions or new nations. We've discussed this, we've touched on this briefly in the past. Tomorrow night, we're going to do a deep dive into it because it's looking more and more likely to happen. So that's it. God bless our law enforcement. God bless our troops.
Yeah.
God bless America.
God bless America.
And
Love you
enjoy
guys.
the closing video. Amen.
Parody music.
It's a Beard Pal Janky hit.
Music.
It's a Beard Pal Janky hit.